Wow, the blue is insane right now. Like everywhere you turn, the sky's a different color.
Those are clean.
This shit flying out.
This was the first day of summer in my mind.
Uh-oh, wait a second. I'll go in the middle. Yeah.
Despite it being early June, the days were long and warm. Kyle and I packed up the bikes and headed down to the river. We had no idea what to expect that day, and had no real plans besides to soak in the warm sun, swim in every hole we could find, go fishing, and explore.
It is very brittle, wicked old. It's probably like, it's been in a shed for many minutes. I got it at a tag sale. But
Just pulled apart.
it is not gonna hold a fish.
But what we didn't know at the time was what a monumental discovery we made this day. To the untrained eye, this little bend might not seem like much, but to us, it was our new home for the night and for the rest of the summer. It was hard to remember to film between all the adventures we were having. In the morning, we crossed to the far bank to soak in the warm sun and recharge for the day. That day was really a turning point in the year. Things just started to align after that. There's a moment in the spring where everything starts happening all at once. The anticipation of warmer weather has been building and building and building, and then it's finally here. And these first few weeks felt like that. The rush of summer was in full effect. There was a newfound excitement to explore and check out all of the trails close to our house. Even on slower days, we would often just leave the house in the afternoon and go jump in the water. In these moments, I kept thinking back to our time living in Atlanta. Doing something like this was a luxury rather than a part of life. We would drive hours just to find a place like this. Now, it's right here, a simple, everyday pleasure. That night, Kaylee and I drove back home and saw one of the best sunsets I've seen in many years. We sat out on the deck watching the light change, the lightning come and go, and eventually the fireflies lighting up the fields. doesn't even look real on the camera. Look at this. You can still see the rainbow a little bit too. One of my favorite things to do is show my friends who don't live in a place like this what it's really like. Tang was visiting for the day, and we went around hiking and swimming, planning on a longer trip in the future. Showing someone around, especially someone who appreciates these things, allowed me to rediscover a lot of these places through his eyes. And we reminisced back to the days of us sitting on my rooftop in Atlanta, dreaming about being out here in the countryside, listening to the birds rather than the noises of the city.
Oh, I mean, it was when he was a letdown, but still,
But seemed like everything led back to the river. Ramsey was also visiting, and so Nami and I took him to the little spot next to Nami's house. It was raining all day, but there was a hint of sun as we walked into the forest. We knew that any time spent outside by the river was going to be worth it, and we weren't disappointed. These spontaneous adventures were only possible with the right people and the access to these beautiful places. Ramsey and I were best friends when we lived in Rome, and I met his brother Nami not long after. Although Ramsey lives on the other side of the country, whenever we all get together, we make the time worth it no matter what. These are the kind of summer nights I crave.
I just went out on my balcony and looked at the clouds, and I realized that like the clouds always look that crazy. It takes you like 3-4 minutes of looking at it, and then you're like, oh, look, yeah, this is crazy.
And then Kyle and I were back in paradise. That is so funny to think about, though, the people who've had these experiences just like us.
Yeah.
We're not the first.
Right.
Every time we came, we were becoming more and more accustomed to the land. And as we started to name our favorite spots along the river, we realized we weren't just marking places on a map. This was our new world that we were going to be coming to for the rest of our lives. A place to go where the outside world doesn't matter.
That's such a fun scramble.
There was a feeling that we tapped into that was a new one for me. The feeling that this place is our home, and how much that deepens the connection and the appreciation for it.
Feel like we're bum bum bum.
News of the world in this bend is ridiculous.
You can see a site like this in another place, but the feeling is different because you know it's your home.
And what's so beautiful is I've never been here in my life. Look at the size of that bend.
You don't just go for one trip and you're a river bum. It's a lifelong commitment.
100%. This is so crazy. I think this is the spot to turn back. There has to be something for more, you know, this is a landmark.
Yeah.
And now we, you know, next time, let's explore beyond the willow.
Yes.
But this time,
We go to the willow. It's perfect.
can't be too greedy.
That's one of the first lessons you'll learn on the river.
One thing I was starting to remember is how much time slows down on these long summer days filled with adventure. As I get older and more things occupy my mind, the days, the months, and even the years can fly by. But when you set a day aside and pack it full of these seemingly silly adventures, time is different. And despite these days being fewer as an adult, the reflection and the documentation helps preserve that feeling.
Crazy.
It also became clear that all of these adventures wouldn't be possible without taking that first step. Which is obvious, but time can get away, especially in the summer. You just have to make it happen. This whole year has felt special because I've had the overwhelming sense that I'm rediscovering myself in some ways. When we were young, my brothers and I spent all of our time doing these exact type of things. Running around barefoot, exploring in the woods, swimming in the rivers and the lakes. And then, as I grew a little bit older, the grass everywhere else seemed greener. I began to think that I wanted to change and I wanted to live in a big city. And I'm glad that I had those experiences, but now I'm coming back to my true self, the kid who spent all of his time in the woods exploring. So coming back to these places that I've known for the past 20 years almost feels like I'm seeing them again for the first time. And this was an interesting trip as well because I could sense that Aiden was feeling the same way. He moved to Denver a few years ago, and despite liking it, he was also craving a little bit more of the wild that you can find around here. My dad was born in Finland, but left when he was 16. He's lived in these parts for the past 30 years. But in a few weeks, he was heading back to Finland for the first time in many, many years. So we were all in this state of heightened reflection. My dad has been a traveler all of his life. When he was younger, he was constantly moving around, experiencing different cultures and places. This lifestyle has always been attractive to me, but I've noticed that it also leads to a grass is always greener mindset, constantly looking for the next place. Over the past few years, I've been able to suppress this in myself more than ever before, and I've learned slowly but surely that the only way to be happy is to accept what I have right now. There's still always that desire in the back of my mind, the yearning for new experiences. The difference now is that I'm able to enjoy what I have while still knowing that those experiences will come. And a big part of this shift were two of my best friends. Their mindset is contagious. And the next day, we had quite the adventure planned. I hear the sound in the distance of two river bums, in this case pond bums. They'll be here shortly. You can see in the distance. I had to switch things up.
It's an inconvenience, but you know, we'll just charge you for it.
Yeah.
No big deal.
What a day. Wow, this is a crazy canoe.
It's way nicer than we should be handling.
Way nicer.
That's the film camera.
Oh, dude, that's gonna be your seat.
Okay. Lit the driveway on fire.
You missed.
That was pretty nice.
We have hard work.
Wait till you see.
You need the update.
I know.
Big time. There's a lot of
There's a
changes.
bunch on your hat right now.
I can feel it. Yeah, they're all over. They're just friends. They're just looking for a spot to dry their little wings. That's crazy.
5 miles on river rocks is not a joke.
Exactly. And I think it's the longest like section of like wilderness river.
The Hornet. What time do you leave Tuesday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Oh, very good.
We've got
Oh.
Are you kidding me?
The piano for like some bigger artist at 3
Stand by you when
6
you're
o'clock
falling,
on a Friday or something. And we're
when the river is calling. I said I love you forever. We can make it together.
talking about crossing this with gear.
One more time to Empty Skillet Bend. Kyle and I were so excited to share our discoveries with Simon.
I lost my best friend. You get to slow down and go with the pace of the river. Try and go at your own pace in the river. It pulls you right in the line and slaps you. Gotta go home.
Stand by you when you're falling, when the river is calling. I said I love you forever. We can make it together. Yeah.
Yeah, careful
Yeah.
you don't crash. Another willow.
That's me a blueberry one.
Look out.
Fish are jumping out of the water.
We woke up to the sound of the river after sleeping under the stars, one of the most freeing experiences I can think of.
The frog. You must clean it.
Or this one. This is a spot that's practically in my backyard. It's so close. And I've come here a few times and I love it. It's beautiful. You have the perfect place to watch the sunset. Mountains in the distance. Everywhere you look, mountains. The ground is covered in wild blueberries. And the birds here. This is just one of those perks about living in this area. To have access to a spot like this whenever I want. You cannot beat this view. This whole summer has had the overwhelming feeling that it's the start of something. And the one thing that's been echoing throughout my head is that these are the good old days.